The Four: The Hidden DNA of Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google, by Scott Galloway. Introduction. Imagine a world where a company knows more about you than your own mother. A world where another company is treated less like a business and more like a religion, with millions of followers willing to defend it against anyone, even their own government. This isn't a science fiction movie. It's the world we live in right now. In 2015, after a horrific act of terrorism in San Bernardino, California, the FBI found the shooter's iPhone. But they couldn't get into it. It was locked. So, they went to the company that made the phone, Apple, with a court order, asking them to create a special key to unlock it. It seemed like a simple request. A matter of national security. But Apple refused. They said creating such a key would create a backdoor that could threaten the privacy of millions of their customers. And what happened next was extraordinary. A huge debate erupted, but not just in Washington. All across the country, millions of people, especially young, educated, influential people, rallied to Apple's side. They sent hate mail to anyone who disagreed. They argued passionately that the company was right to defy the government. Now, ask yourself a question. If that phone had been a Samsung, or a Google phone, or anything else, would the reaction have been the same? Probably not. So why was Apple different? Why did this one company inspire such fierce, almost religious loyalty? That question is at the heart of a brilliant and provocative book called The Four, by the professor and entrepreneur Scott Galloway. He argues that four companies, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Google, have become more than just businesses. They have become the new gods of our modern world, shaping our lives, our economy, and even our deepest desires in ways we're only just beginning to understand. Over the next hour, we're going to pull back the curtain on these four giants. This isn't just a business lesson, it's a guide to understanding the hidden forces that drive our world. By the end of our journey, you won't just see these companies differently, you'll understand the secret playbook they use to conquer the world, and more importantly, you'll discover how you can navigate and even thrive in the age they have created. This is the story of the hidden DNA of power, and it starts with an appeal not to our wallets, but to our most ancient, primal instincts. Book summary. To understand how these four companies became so powerful, you have to forget almost everything you think you know about business. It's not just about technology, or a smart idea, or even hard work. Scott Galloway argues that each of these companies, who he calls the Four Horsemen, tapped into a fundamental human need, an instinct so deep it's practically written into our DNA. Think of your body as having three core centers of decision-making: the brain, the heart, and, well, the part of you that's focused on survival and passing on your genes. Your brain is the rational part. It calculates, it compares prices, it looks for the most efficient solution. It's the part of you that wants more for less. Your heart is the emotional part. It craves connection, community, and love. It wants to feel like it belongs. And that third part, it's driven by instinct. The desire to be attractive, to signal success, to feel powerful, and ultimately, to be seen as a desirable mate. It's the part of us that connects with the divine, the part that seeks perfection. The Four Horsemen didn't just build better products, they became masters at appealing to one of these three centers. They bypassed rational thought and went straight for the core of what makes us human. Let's start with the one that speaks to our brain, our most ancient instinct for survival, the desire to gather. Let's talk about Amazon. For more than 90% of human history, we were hunters and gatherers. Our survival depended on one simple thing: getting more calories than we burned. We were wired to find the easiest, most efficient way to get the things we needed to live. We have a deep, primal craving for more stuff, with less effort. And no company in history has understood or exploited this instinct better than Amazon. When Jeff Bezos started Amazon in 1994, he wasn't just starting a bookstore. He had a vision that was as simple as it was world-changing: to create Earth's biggest store. It's a story so powerful and easy to understand that it has captivated investors for over 2 decades. And that story has given Amazon its greatest superpower: access to almost unlimited amounts of cheap money. You see, most companies are in a contract with their investors. They say, "Give us your money, and in a few years, we'll give you back profits." But Amazon told a different story. It said, "Give us your money, and we won't give you profits. Instead, we'll use every dollar we make to grow, to get bigger, to become more dominant, until we are the only store you'll ever need." And the market believed him. While other retailers were punished by Wall Street for spending too much on long-term projects, Amazon was rewarded for it. It trades at a valuation that is wildly disconnected from its actual profits. This allows it to do things no other retailer could dream of. Imagine 2 poker players. One has $100 in chips. The other has 10,000. Who do you think is going to win? It doesn't matter if the first player is smarter or gets better cards occasionally. The player with a massive pile of chips can afford to lose hands, to take huge risks, and to simply outlast everyone else at the table. That's Amazon. They've used this visionary capital to build an empire of convenience. They've invested billions in a logistics network, warehouses run by robots, a fleet of airplanes, thousands of trucks, all designed for one purpose: to remove every possible point of friction between you and the stuff you want. Think about it. Shopping for toothpaste or diapers isn't fun. It's a chore. Amazon makes that chore disappear. No driving to the store, no looking for a parking spot, no waiting in line. Just a single click. Galloway points out that most of the value created in the digital age doesn't come from adding new features. It comes from removing steps. It comes from eliminating friction. And Amazon is the king of removing friction. They appealed to our ancient, gathering brain. The part of us that wants to hoard resources for the winter, to have more than we need, just in case. Famine was a real threat for our ancestors. The downside of having too much was wasted effort. The downside of having too little was death. Our brains are still wired that way. Amazon whispers to that ancient part of our brain, more stuff. Less effort. You'll be safer. You'll be more secure. But Amazon's strategy is also a destructive one. In a retail world that's barely growing, Amazon's explosive growth has to come from somewhere. It comes from the death of other retailers. For every $1 billion Amazon grows, thousands of jobs at places like Macy's, Sears, and J.C. Penney disappear. Galloway tells a chilling story. He says Jeff Bezos sees the future of work, and it doesn't involve many humans. When Amazon bought Kiva Systems, a warehouse robotics company, it was a signal. The future of retail is robots picking your orders in a giant, dark warehouse, almost silently. Bezos has even suggested that because of this, our society might need a universal basic income, a guaranteed payment to every citizen, because there simply won't be enough jobs to go around. It's a stark vision. But this is the world Amazon is building. It started with books, but taxis were just the start for Uber, and books were just the start for Amazon. Their real goal is to become the underlying operating system for all of commerce. To own the pipes, the warehouses, the trucks, the drones, that deliver everything to everyone. And once they own the pipes, every other company will have to pay them a toll to use them. This is how a company that barely makes a profit could become the first trillion-dollar company in history. It's not just about selling things. It's about owning the entire system of consumption. It's the ultimate appeal to our gathering brain. Now, if Amazon conquered the brain, another of the horsemen set its sights a little lower on the body, on our desire for something more transcendent, more beautiful, more divine. Let's talk about Apple. Apple, Galloway argues, is not a tech company. It's a luxury brand. And its success comes from tapping into two of our other primal needs, the need to feel closer to God, and the need to be more attractive to the opposite sex. That might sound crazy, but think about it. What is luxury? For millennia, we've associated perfection, superior craftsmanship, and breathtaking beauty with the divine. When you walk into a grand cathedral, you're overwhelmed by the art, the architecture, the light. It feels like a sacred space. Luxury brands recreate that feeling. They offer a taste of perfection in a world that is messy and imperfect. At the same time, luxury is a signal. It's the human equivalent of a peacock's feathers. It says, I am successful. I have resources. I am a good provider. My offspring are more likely to survive. Driving a Porsche or wearing a Rolex doesn't make rational sense. But it sends a powerful, primal signal to potential mates. Steve Jobs understood this instinctively. From the very beginning, Apple products were designed to be beautiful. But the company's true transformation into a luxury brand began when Jobs returned in the late 90s. He realized that to command irrational profits, Apple had to stop competing on price and start competing on desire. He moved Apple down the torso, from the brain to the heart and the genitals. The key to this strategy was the Apple Store. At a time when everyone said physical retail was dying, Jobs did the opposite. He built beautiful, minimalist temples to the brand. Apple stores aren't just places to buy things. They're places to experience the brand, to feel like you're part of an exclusive club. They are designed like churches of technology. Walk down Fifth Avenue in New York, and you'll see Cartier, Tiffany, Louis Vuitton, and Apple. It belongs there. And the products themselves became icons. The glossy white iPod. The revolutionary iPhone. These weren't just gadgets, they were status symbols. Owning an iPhone signals that you are part of the innovation class, that you are wealthy, educated, and share Western values. It signals that you are closer to perfection. This is why Apple can have only 15% of the global smartphone market but capture nearly 80% of the profits. It's the business model of Ferrari with a production volume of Toyota. It's an achievement that should be impossible. Galloway breaks down the luxury playbook that Apple mastered. It has 5 key ingredients. First, an iconic founder. Steve Jobs became the Jesus Christ of the innovation economy. He was a visionary, a genius, and his story is a modern myth. Even though he was famously difficult and not always a good person, his legend elevates the brand. Second, artisanship. Apple is obsessed with simplicity and perfection in its design. The products feel inevitable, as if there could be no other rational alternative. As Don Norman, a former Apple VP said, attractive things work better. Third, vertical integration. Apple controls the entire experience, from the design of the chip to the software to the store you buy it in. This control allows them to maintain their premium image. Fourth, global reach. Luxury is a universal language. The global elite, from New York to Shanghai, all want the same things. Apple is one of the few brands that has transcended every cultural boundary. And fifth, a premium price. High prices signal quality and exclusivity. The high price of an iPhone isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's what keeps the brand desirable. By becoming a luxury brand, Apple has done something no other tech company has managed to do. It has a shot at becoming timeless. Tech companies usually age in dog years. They're like alpha lions in the wild. It's good to be king, but there's always a younger, faster lion coming to take your throne. But luxury brands can last for centuries. Chanel will likely outlive Cisco. Gucci will be around long after Google is a memory. Of all the four horsemen, Galloway believes Apple has the best chance of surviving into the 22nd century. It has inoculated itself against the brutal, fast-paced world of technology by appealing to something much older and more powerful: our desire for divinity and our drive to procreate. So we have the brain, and we have our primal instincts for status and sex. But what about the heart? What about our need for love and connection? That's where the third horseman comes in. Let's talk about Facebook. If you measure success by the sheer number of people a thing touches, Facebook may be the most successful thing in the history of humankind. There are more people with a daily relationship with Facebook than there are Catholics in the world, or citizens in China. People spend, on average, 50 minutes a day on Facebook and its other properties, Instagram and WhatsApp. That's more time than we spend on almost any other activity besides work, sleep, and time with family. Why? Because Facebook has tapped into one of the most powerful forces in human existence: our need to love and be loved. A famous 75-year-long study at Harvard found that the single strongest predictor of human happiness is the depth and quality of our relationships. As the study's director summarized it after decades of research, happiness is love. Full stop. Facebook, at its best, is a platform for love. It allows us to connect with old friends, to stay in touch with family who live far away, to share in the joy of a new baby or a wedding. Every time we get a like on a post, our brain gets a tiny hit of dopamine, the chemical of pleasure and reward. It feels good to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be loved. The platform has become the connective tissue for a quarter of humanity. It allows us to express empathy on a global scale. Galloway argues that the explosion of images on social media may actually be making the world a more peaceful place, because it's harder to hate or ignore the suffering of people you feel connected to. But there's another side to Facebook. The side that faces us, the users, is the bait. The real product is us. Facebook is the most powerful surveillance machine ever created. And we have willingly invited it into our lives. We tell it who our friends are, where we went to school, what movies we like, where we're going on vacation, what we're thinking about right now. We feed this machine a constant stream of our most personal data. And Facebook's algorithm, its artificial intelligence, gets smarter with every single click, every like, every share. This creates what Galloway calls a Benjamin Button product, a product that ages in reverse. Unlike your shoes, which get less valuable the more you wear them, Facebook becomes more valuable the more people use it. Every new user, and every piece of data they share, makes the network more powerful for everyone else, and more valuable to advertisers. And that's Facebook's real business. It's an advertising company. But it's unlike any that has ever existed. Historically, advertising has been a trade-off between scale and targeting. You could advertise during the Super Bowl and reach 100 million people, but most of them aren't interested in your product. Or you could host an expensive dinner for 10 potential clients and have a perfectly targeted message, but it doesn't scale. Facebook is the first company in history to offer both. It has the scale of the Super Bowl, but it can target a single individual with terrifying precision. An advertiser can tell Facebook, show this ad to 28-year-old women who live in San Diego, are engaged to be married, love hiking, and have recently shown an interest in buying a new car, and Facebook can deliver that audience instantly. It knows this because it's not just watching what we post. It's analyzing everything. When you have the Facebook app on your phone, Galloway says, it's listening. It can pick up ambient noise and use its AI to figure out what TV show you're watching, or even what people around you are talking about. It knows you better than your best friend. In fact, One study found that with just 150 likes, Facebook's model could predict your personality better than your spouse. With 300, it understood you better than you understood yourself. This power is what has allowed Facebook to wage war on its competitors. It famously bought Instagram for $1 billion, an acquisition that at the time seemed crazy but now looks like one of the greatest deals in business history. And now, it is in a battle to the death with Snapchat. Mark Zuckerberg, Galloway says, wakes up every morning thinking about how to destroy Snap Incorporated. And he will, by simply copying every feature they create and using Facebook's massive scale to crush them. Facebook is like a Burmese python that swallows a cow. For a while, it takes the shape of the cow, but after it digests it, the snake is just bigger and stronger. Together with our final horseman, Facebook is creating a duopoly that is devouring the entire media landscape. But before we get to that, we have to talk about the horseman that has become our new source of truth, our oracle, our modern-day God. Let's talk about Google. For most of human history, when we had a question, from the trivial to the profound, we looked up. We prayed. We asked a higher power for answers, for guidance, for reassurance. Today, when we have a question, we don't look up. We look down. At a screen. Google, Galloway argues, has become the God of the digital age. Think about the attributes of God. An all-knowing, all-seeing entity. A being you can turn to with your deepest questions and darkest secrets, without fear of judgment. A source of ultimate truth and credibility. That's Google. We confess things to Google that we wouldn't tell our priest, our doctor, or even our spouse. We ask it about our strange medical symptoms, our secret anxieties, our hidden desires. The trust we place in it is unrivaled. About 1 in every 6 queries typed into Google has never been asked before. What priest, rabbi, or scholar has ever been trusted with that many original questions from every corner of the world? And Google answers. 3.5 billion times a day, it delivers an answer, a benediction, in a fraction of a second. Here is the knowledge you seek. Go, and live a better life. This trust is the foundation of Google's empire. And they built it on one brilliant insight, separating the search results from the advertisements. The organic results are based purely on relevance, not on who paid the most. This created a feeling of impartiality, of truth. It felt like Google had no agenda, just like a benevolent God. Of course, Google does have an agenda, to make unimaginable amounts of money. It does this by auctioning off the ad space next to those truthful results. It gives us what we want on one side of the page, and sells our intentions to the highest bidder on the other. It's a perfect business model. Like the other horsemen, Google's product also ages in reverse. Every search you make teaches the algorithm something new, making it a tiny bit smarter for the next person. With billions of people praying to it every day, Google's intelligence grows at an exponential rate. This has allowed it to become what Galloway calls a precog, like the future-seeing mutants in the movie Minority Report. Our search history is a direct line into our intentions. Before people commit crimes, they often Google suspicious things. Google knows what we're thinking about doing, before we do it. The temptation for governments and others to use this predictive power will be irresistible. But Google's power has also been destructive. Galloway shares a personal story of his time on the board of the New York Times. He watched in frustration as the newspaper, one of the greatest institutions of the 20th century, allowed Google to crawl its content for free. The Times thought it was a symbiotic relationship. Google sent them traffic. But Galloway saw the truth. They were exchanging dollars for dimes. Google was using the Times' expensive, high-quality journalism to build its own empire, learning exactly what Times readers were interested in and then selling that intelligence to advertisers with far more precision than the Times ever could. The newspaper became a tenant farmer on Google's land. Google didn't just organize the world's information, it seized control of it. And in doing so, it, along with Facebook, has siphoned almost all the profits out of the media industry. In 2016, all of the growth in digital advertising revenue in the United States went to just two companies, Google and Facebook. 103%, to be exact. That means the rest of the entire digital media industry, combined, actually shrank. This is the power of the duopoly. They have become the gatekeepers to information and attention, and every other media company is now fighting for the scraps they leave behind. So these are the four horsemen. Amazon, the god of consumption. Apple, the god of sex and luxury. Facebook, the god of love. And Google, the god of knowledge. They have aggregated more power, wealth, and influence than any entities in history. But how did they do it? And more importantly, what does it take for a new company to join this exclusive club? Galloway believes he's cracked the code. He calls it the T algorithm, the 8 ingredients you need to have a shot at becoming a trillion-dollar company. First, product differentiation. In the digital age, the best product often wins. You need something that is genuinely better, often because it removes friction from the customer's life. Second, visionary capital. You need a bold, simple story that captures the imagination of investors and gives you access to cheap capital. This allows you to play the long game. Third, global reach. Your product has to be able to leap across borders easily. To be a horseman, you have to think globally from day one. Fourth, likability. Galloway says companies are like people. If they're likable, they get away with a lot more. The four have mastered the art of being seen as cool, progressive, and good for the world, which helps them avoid regulation and scrutiny. Fifth, vertical integration. You need to control the entire customer experience. All four horsemen own their distribution, which allows them to protect their brand and margins. Sixth, AI and data. You need to be a master of data. A trillion-dollar company uses AI to learn from its customers constantly, creating a product that gets better with every use. Seventh, career accelerant. You have to be seen as a place where the most talented people in the world can go to launch their careers into the stratosphere. This creates a virtuous cycle where the best people want to work for you, which makes you even more successful. And eighth, geography. You need to be a bike ride away from a world-class engineering university. The raw material of the digital age is talent, and talent is concentrated in cities, near great schools. This algorithm is the playbook for modern dominance. And Galloway uses it to look at the next generation of potential horsemen. He looks at Alibaba, the Chinese e-commerce giant that's even bigger than Amazon by some measures, but faces challenges with its brand and its relationship with the Chinese government. He looks at Tesla, which he believes is a massive contender. It's not just an electric car company, it's a luxury brand that, like Apple, hits the customer right smack in the groin. It has a visionary leader in Elon Musk and is mastering the T algorithm. He looks at Uber, a company with a brilliant product that removes friction but is plagued by a lack of likability and a business model that creates thousands of lords and millions of serfs. The game is far from over. The four are powerful, but no empire lasts forever. Their greatest threat, however, isn't from a new competitor. It's from each other. They are now colliding, competing in search, in cloud computing, in autonomous vehicles, in an epic race to become the single operating system for our lives. But as these giants battle for supremacy, what does it mean for the rest of us? What does it mean for your career, for your future? This is where Galloway's message becomes most personal and most powerful. He argues that we are living in an insecurity economy. The rise of the four has created a winner-take-all world. It has never been a better time to be exceptional. And it has never been a worse time to be average. Thanks to technology, the ponds are all connecting to form one big ocean. If you're the big fish, life is great. But if you're just a good fish, you're now competing with every other good fish on the planet. The difference in skill between good and great might only be 10%, but the difference in rewards is more like 10 times. So, how do you become great? How do you thrive in the age of the four? Galloway offers a series of powerful, unsentimental pieces of advice. First, go to college, and try to get into the best one you can. He says that in America, college is the new caste system. A degree from a prestigious school is the clearest signal you can send to the world. It's a brand that will open doors for the rest of your life. Second, get to a city. The idea that technology would let us work from a mountain cabin is a myth. The opposite has happened. Wealth, power, and opportunity are concentrating in a handful of supercities. Innovation happens when ideas have sex, and that happens in person. Third, and this is one of his most famous pieces of advice, don't follow your passion. Follow your talent. He says, people who tell you to follow your passion are already rich. Instead, figure out what you're good at, and commit to becoming great at it. You don't have to love it at first. But if you become one of the best in the world at something, the recognition, the compensation, and the opportunities that come with it will make you start to love it. The best tax accountants on the planet fly first class and marry people who are better looking than them, two things they are probably very passionate about. He also says that emotional maturity is more important than ever. In a world of constant change, the people who can stay poised under stress, who can work well with others, and who can learn and adapt, will win. And finally, he says you have to accept that balance is a myth, at least early in your career. The first 5 to 10 years after you graduate will set the trajectory for the rest of your life. If you want that trajectory to be steep, you have to burn a lot of fuel. It's not about working yourself to death forever, but about putting in the intense effort early on to build the foundation for a life where you will have choices later. It's a challenging message. But it's also an empowering one. The world has been reshaped by these four companies. They have created enormous value, but they have also created immense disruption. They are not benevolent. They are for-profit entities that will avoid taxes, invade privacy, and destroy jobs to increase their own power. They are not going to take care of us. Our governments are struggling to keep up. So it's up to us. It's up to you. The path forward, Galloway says, is not to fight them, or to worship them. It's to understand them. To understand the game they are playing, and to use that knowledge to build your own economic security, for yourself and for your family. The four horsemen may seem like gods, but they are not your gods. The world they have created is not a spectator sport. It's a call to action. A call to be exceptional. A call to understand the rules of this new game, and to play it with everything you've got. Commentary. As we close the pages on Scott Galloway's The Four, it's impossible not to feel a mix of awe and unease. The book is more than just a business analysis, it's a field guide to the new world we inhabit. What I find most powerful about Galloway's message is that he demystifies these giants. He strips away the corporate PR and the hero worship and shows them for what they are: incredibly successful, ruthlessly competitive organisms that are masters at manipulating our most basic human drives. The central lesson, for me, is the idea that the most powerful forces in business aren't found in a spreadsheet or a line of code, but in the human heart, the human brain, and our deepest evolutionary instincts. Amazon isn't just a store, it's an extension of our primal need to gather and hoard. Apple isn't just a phone, It's a modern-day religious icon that signals our fitness to potential mates. Facebook isn't just a website, it's a machine built to monetize our fundamental need for love. And Google isn't just a search engine, it's the all-knowing oracle we turn to for answers in a confusing world. This insight changes everything. It teaches us that to understand the world, we have to understand ourselves. So, what can you do with this knowledge, starting today? Galloway's book is full of complex ideas, but the application can start simply. First, become a more conscious consumer. The next time you feel the urge to one-click buy something on Amazon, or find yourself endlessly scrolling through your Instagram feed, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, which part of me is this appealing to? Is it my brain, my heart, or my instincts? Just being aware of these forces is the first step to not being controlled by them. It gives you back a little bit of power. Second, audit your own brand. Galloway's career advice is built on the idea that in this new economy, you are a product. Take an honest look at your skills. What are you truly good at? Not what are you passionate about, but what is your raw talent? And how can you start investing in that talent to become not just good, but great at it? Maybe it's taking an online course, finding a mentor, or just dedicating an extra hour a day to practice. The journey from average to exceptional starts with a single, deliberate step. And third, think like a horseman about your own life. They didn't succeed by doing what everyone else was doing. They succeeded by removing friction, by telling a compelling story, and by building deep, analog moats that are hard to replicate. What friction can you remove from your own life to be more effective? What is the simple, bold story of what you want to achieve? And what skills or relationships can you build that are uniquely yours, that can't be easily copied by someone else? The 4 is a wake-up call. It tells us that the world is being run by a new set of rules, and the sooner we learn them, the better. These companies are not our friends, but they can be our greatest teachers. That was a summary of The 4 by Scott Galloway. We've certainly hit the big ideas today, but I have to be honest with you. Listening to a summary is like looking at a travel brochure. It can show you the beautiful pictures, but it can't give you the feeling of the sun on your skin or the taste of the local food. The real magic of a book like this happens when you're reading it for yourself, when one of Galloway's sharp insights or irreverent jokes makes you stop and see the world in a completely new way. This summary is your brochure. If any of the ideas we've explored have sparked your curiosity, I truly encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning business strategy, it's an experience that will fundamentally change how you see the digital world and your place within it. A link to the book is waiting for you in the description. Also, if you found this journey valuable, it would mean the world to me if you'd hit that like button and subscribe. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive into another one of the game-changing books on the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and growing together.